Ladies and gentlemen, every day we wake up and step into the world with a choice. Maybe it doesn't feel like one, maybe the weight of responsibilities or routine dulls that awareness, but the choice is there. The choice of who we're becoming, the choice of what kind of energy we bring into a room, the choice of whether we're going to live by design or by default. And the truth is, we're all shaping something: our mindset, our habits, our relationships, our legacy, whether we realize it or not. It's not always loud. It's not always dramatic. Most of the time, it's quiet, subtle, daily. The people who grow, the ones who lead with purpose, who live lives of meaning, don't have perfect conditions. They don't always have the most resources or the clearest paths. What they do have is intention. They speak to themselves differently. They don't wait for the world to affirm who they are, they remind themselves of it daily. Because the way we speak to ourselves shapes the way we show up. It shapes what we believe we're capable of. It shapes what we tolerate, what we pursue, what we build. So the challenge isn't to wait for some breakthrough or inspiration to strike. The challenge is to tell yourself the right things before the world gets a chance to tell you otherwise. Not affirmations for the sake of feeling good, but grounded, honest reminders of the kind of person you're committed to becoming. Not once. Not when it's convenient. Every single day. These are not just phrases. They are anchors. And if you choose to hold on to them, to live them out, they will change everything. Every single day, the way we show up in the world determines the kind of impact we have, not only on others but on ourselves. It's easy to blame the mood we're in, the people around us, or the circumstances we're facing. But when we wake up and remind ourselves that we are responsible for how we show up emotionally, mentally, and physically, everything begins to shift. It's not about pretending to feel great when we don't. It's about choosing to respond with intention instead of reacting out of habit. That small shift from reaction to response is where personal power lies. It's where ownership begins. There's something powerful about walking into any situation, whether it's a high-pressure meeting, a difficult conversation, or even a casual interaction, knowing that we have the ability to set the tone. We might not control what happens to us, but we absolutely get to decide who we become in the process. And that's the difference between being passive participants in our own lives and becoming active architects of our reality. The responsibility isn't always easy. In fact, it rarely is. But the beauty of responsibility is that it gives us back our agency. It puts us in the driver's seat. When we take responsibility for how we show up, we stop outsourcing our peace, our joy, and our power to external circumstances. We reclaim them. Owning how we show up also means being honest with ourselves. It means recognizing when we're falling into patterns that no longer serve us, when we're showing up from a place of fear instead of confidence, from insecurity instead of courage. It's easy to slip into self-protective behaviors that feel safe: withdrawing, snapping, avoiding, judging. But we don't grow there. We grow when we lean into the discomfort, when we pause and ask ourselves, is this really how I want to be right now? And then we choose differently. That choice, repeated consistently, is what transforms us. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being conscious. Conscious of our words. Conscious of our energy. Conscious of the ripple effect we create simply by being present. People may forget what we said, but they rarely forget how we made them feel. And how we make people feel has everything to do with how we show up. We don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to lead. We just have to be the clearest. Clear in our values, clear in our intentions, and clear in our self-awareness. That clarity starts with taking responsibility for who we are becoming. There will be days when we don't feel like showing up fully. Days when motivation is low. When energy is scattered. When it feels easier to shut down or disconnect. That's normal. The point isn't to avoid those days. The point is to recognize them and show up anyway, not with forced enthusiasm or fake smiles, but with honesty in heart. Even on those days, especially on those days, we have an opportunity to model authenticity. To say, this is where I'm at, and I'm still choosing to be here with intention. That's powerful. When we tell ourselves daily, I am responsible for how I show up, it becomes a compass. It centers us. It invites us to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to reflect before deciding. It pushes us to rise to a higher standard, not for the sake of appearances or praise, but because it aligns with who we truly want to be. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a privilege. It means we're not victims of our past or prisoners of our circumstances. It means we believe in our ability to influence outcomes by taking full ownership of our input. Sometimes we get caught up in the external metrics of success, how much we're achieving, how fast we're growing, how we're being perceived. But none of that matters if we're not showing up with integrity, if we're not rooted in who we are. The most grounded people aren't those who have it all figured out. They're the ones who know they are works in progress and still choose to show up with presence, with consistency, with kindness. That choice, repeated daily, is what builds trust, both with ourselves and with others. And trust is the foundation of everything worth building. Growth begins where comfort ends. It's one of those truths that sounds simple, but it asks for everything. As human beings, we are wired for comfort. Our brains are designed to seek safety, predictability, and ease. But growth lives in the tension, in the unfamiliar, in the stretch. It's not found in the routines that lull us or in the habits that keep us at the same level. Growth doesn't happen when everything is going our way. It happens in the mess, in the confusion, in the moments when we feel like we have no idea what we're doing, but we keep going anyway. We all crave change in some way. We want to improve, evolve, become more aligned with the person we know we're capable of being. But often we want to do that without leaving the emotional safety net we've built around ourselves. We want the result without the risk. But transformation doesn't work like that. It requires discomfort. It demands that we give up who we were for who we might become. That's not just hard, it's terrifying. It's standing at the edge of what's known and taking a step into the unknown, with no guarantee that things will work out the way we hope. And yet, that's where the magic begins. Discomfort is the signpost. It's the signal that we're on the edge of something meaningful. It shows up when we're pushing ourselves in the gym, when we're learning something new and fumbling through it, when we're having conversations that challenge our perspective, when we're confronting parts of ourselves we've avoided for too long. Discomfort doesn't mean something's wrong. It often means something is waking up. Growth is not supposed to feel easy. It's supposed to stretch us, to shake us a little, to ask us who we really want to be when things get hard. Comfort zones aren't just about routines or locations, they're about identity. We become attached to the version of ourselves we've always been, even if that version isn't fully aligned with where we want to go. That's the trap. We cling to old stories because they're familiar. I'm not a risk taker. I'm not good at public speaking. I've never been creative. These stories feel safe, but they're often lies we've outgrown. Growth asks us to rewrite them. To be bold enough to say, that may have been true once, but it doesn't have to define me now. And that's uncomfortable, because it means we don't have the same excuses. It means we're responsible for stepping into the next version of ourselves. Every time we choose growth over comfort, we are building resilience. We're teaching ourselves that we can do hard things, that we can sit with fear, with doubt, with failure, and still move forward. The people we admire, the ones who lead with conviction, who create meaningful work, who live with depth and purpose, they didn't get there by staying comfortable. They got there by leaning into the resistance, by being willing to fail, to be misunderstood, to feel like beginners again and again. That takes humility. That takes courage. And it starts with the willingness to be uncomfortable on purpose. It's easy to look at others who seem ahead of us and assume they have something we don't. Talent, resources, luck. But more often than not, the difference is that they were willing to stay in the discomfort longer. They were willing to not quit when things got awkward or difficult. Growth requires repetition. It requires patience. It's not a one-time decision, it's a daily one. Choosing to show up even when the voice in our head says we're not ready. Choosing to keep going when progress feels invisible. Choosing to believe that discomfort is a sign of movement, not failure. We avoid discomfort because we think it will break us. But what if it's what actually builds us? What if every hard thing we lean into is shaping us into someone stronger, wiser, more grounded? When we stop running from discomfort and start seeing it as a partner in our growth, everything changes. We stop waiting for the right time. We stop negotiating with fear. We stop settling for half versions of the life we want. We begin to play a bigger game, not because it's easy, but because we finally understand that the pain of growth is far less than the regret of never trying. Consistency beats intensity. It's easy to be all in for a day, a week, or even a month when motivation is high and the vision feels fresh. But real change, the kind that lasts, isn't built on bursts of inspiration. It's built on the quiet, repetitive acts that most people overlook. It's not about how hard you can go when you're fired up. It's about what you do when no one's watching, when it's boring, when it's inconvenient, when the spark is gone but the commitment remains. Intensity feels powerful in the moment, but consistency compounds over time in a way intensity never can. We live in a world that celebrates the highlight reel, the big gestures, the dramatic transformations, the overnight success stories. But what's not shown are the early mornings, the missed social events, the daily disciplines, the choices that don't feel glamorous but are necessary. The truth is, most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they stop. They burn hot, then burn out. But those who win in the long run are the ones who understand that showing up imperfectly is still better than not showing up at all. They choose steady progress over dramatic leaps. They play the long game. Consistency isn't just about action, it's about identity. Every time you follow through on what you said you'd do, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. If you want to become someone who's disciplined, who keeps promises, who builds something meaningful, then you can't rely on fleeting feelings. You have to make your habits stronger than your moods. You have to anchor your behavior in your work, not in your emotional state. And that's where consistency wins. It becomes a rhythm, not a performance. A way of being, not just a streak you're trying to maintain. There will be days when you don't feel like it, when everything in you wants to press pause. Those are the most important days. Because anyone can be consistent when it's easy. But being consistent when it's inconvenient, when it's raining, when you're tired, when you're discouraged, that's when it counts. That's when it's building something deeper than results. It's building character. And character is what sustains success when talent runs dry or motivation fades. Intensity can start the fire, but only consistency keeps it burning. People often ask how to stay motivated. The better question is how to stay committed. Motivation is a feeling. Commitment is a decision. Motivation shows up when things are exciting. Commitment stays when they're not. And the funny thing is, consistency creates its own motivation. The more you show up, the more you start to believe in yourself. The more you follow through, the less you need to hype yourself up. You become someone who doesn't wait to feel ready. You act your way into readiness. You earn your own trust, one small choice at a time. This applies to everything: fitness, relationships, career, creativity. You don't build a strong body by going to the gym once for 4 hours. You build it by showing up for 30 minutes every day. You don't build a meaningful connection with someone through one grand gesture. You build it through honest conversations, little moments, shared experiences over time. You don't write a book in a day. You write it by sitting down consistently, even when the words don't flow. The magic isn't in the big effort, it's in the repetition of small ones. Consistency can feel thankless. It doesn't give instant results, it often feels slow. But slow isn't stagnant. Slow is sustainable. It means the progress is real. It's rooted. It's not a spike, it's a foundation. And foundations are what allow us to grow without collapsing. Every time you show up and do the thing you said you'd do, even just a little bit, you're proving to yourself that you're not just a starter, you're a finisher. You're not chasing momentum, you're building resilience. You're not waiting for the perfect moment, you're making the present moment count. Intensity is exciting, but it fades. It burns bright and then burns out. Consistency is quieter, but it lasts. It's not about going viral, it's about going the distance. It's not about being impressive today, it's about being dependable over time. When people look back on those who truly made an impact, they don't remember the one big moment. They remember the steady presence, The person who kept showing up, who kept doing the work, who stayed when others left. That's what consistency creates. It builds legacy, not just performance. It builds trust, not just attention. And in the end, that's what truly matters.